to Lazada Open Platform. So first, I will have give you a brief introduction of the Lazada Open Platform, and then I will give you a simple demo of how to migrate to this new platform. If you have any questions, we will give you some time after this introduction, and we will have a Q&A session. So let's get started from the slides. As you know, Lazada Open Platform has been online in March, and this platform is used to help our sellers and ISVs to manage their applications and also call the APIs of Lazada. And after we have the Lazada Service Marketplace online, you will be the developers or ISVs will be able to deploy your application on the service marketplace. And the Lazada Open Platform is how to say, is part of the ISV ecosystem in Southeast Asia. So when we have the service marketplace, the applications and the services can be listed, and the Lazada Open Platform is a platform to manage your applications. And this slides introduces the basic structure of the platform. You can see that on this platform we have several roles. The first is our seller, Lazada seller, and another one is the individual service software vendor, and the ISP, that is our internal development team. And the ISVs or as sellers, yeah, you will be able to develop your application through the Lazada Open Platform, and your application will be called the APIs of Lazada. And also these APIs are connected to the seller services of our seller center. And also in the future, the applications developed on Lazada Open Platform can be deployed to the Lazada cloud. And also the applications can be listed on the service marketplace, which will be online later. And our other sellers can place orders on the service marketplace to buy the usage of the application. So this is basically the platform of the new Open Platform. And here is the key features of the Lazada Open Platform. The first one is the Open API Library, which means that all the current APIs on the Seller Center has been migrated to the new platform. And in the future, we will be also providing opening more APIs for our sellers and the ISVs. And also the performance of the APIs has been improved, like the stability of the server and the ability to accept concurrencies of the API calls. And also this is the Lazada Open Platform is an integrated platform, which means you will only to have a single developer account to call the APIs of the 6 Lazada entries. Lazada ventures. And another feature is the security framework, which means we have implemented some security features in the new platform to protect the data of our sellers. And also a unified account will be needed to use the Lazada Open Platform, which means that you will have a single developer account on this platform, which is different from your Seller Center account. And also we provide a data dashboard to help you to view, to monitor the performance of your application, and also the performance of the API calls. For example, you will see how many calls are failed or successful according to the performance of your application. And also we provide multiple language SDK packages. Currently we are supporting 5 programming languages to help you develop your application. And here are some key dates for the Lazada Open Platform. Currently, the new platform has been launched for all the 6 ventures. And also, we plan to migrate all our sellers and the ISVs to the new platform by the end of May. So, which means that all the current Seller Center APIs will be out of service by the end of May, and you will be you will need to migrate from the Seller Center API endpoints to the new platform. And also we have provided we will provide technical support to you through the contact us page, and also we have some Team Talk groups to help you migrate to the new platform. So maybe later, if you have any questions, you can contact us through these channels. And here is the overview of the migration steps. The first step, you will need to register as a developer on the new platform. And also you will need to create your app, which means you will need to register your application under a certain application category, because we provided some categories for you to choose. And for sellers, for API sellers, we recommend that you use the seller in-house application category. Later, I will provide a demo. And also, you can, if you are developing your application, you can download the SDK package for your application to help you develop your application. Because using SDK, you do not need to manually generate the HTTP requests. Also, you do not need to generate the signature by manually. And also, the next step is to request a API permission group for your application on the app management page. And after that, for integrators, you will request, as you are sellers, you will need to configure the seller whitelist, because this feature is enabled to protect sellers' data, which means only the specified sellers will be able to authorize the application to access the API, access the seller's data. So this is the basically the major migration steps. From now, the following slides will be introducing the basic steps how to migrate to the Lazada Open Platform. So first you will need to register a developer account. So this step is very simple. You can just follow these steps. You can register using one of your emails, which this account is different from your Seller Center account. So you can just click create account and follow the wizard to complete the account registration. What I need to mention is that during the account registration process, you do not need to provide the completed profile. But after you have registered your account, you can log in the Lazada Open Platform and to complete your profile. And now the next step is to create an application, which means you will need to register your application on the new platform. So it is very simple. Click this create button, and now you will be directed to the application category application page. Here you can see that there are several application categories. For sellers, you will be need to apply for the seller in-house app. And for ISVs, they can apply for other application categories. So this here is a list of the application categories that are available. So once you click apply, you will be prompted to enter some reason. For example, the business justification for your application here in this window. And if you have any file that can describe your application, this is optional. You can click select file to choose a file to upload. This will help us to review your request. And after you have submit your request, the admin will be able to see your request and in the backend system, and will approve your application. So once your application is approved, you can see that the status of this application category has become to active. So now you can click create app, this button, to create your application. In the next step, it is very simple that you only need to provide this information, like your name, the name of your app, and the callback URL, and the image for your used as your application logo. So one thing is I would like to say is the callback URL. This is new on Lazada Open Platform. It is used to receive the authorization code during the seller authorization process. I will describe in detail how to use this callback URL. It can be any online URL that can receive the authorization code. For example, you can use the URL of your app, and also you can also use some public URL like the Lazada web page, like the Google. So it is used for receiving the authorization code. So after submitting this information, your application is created successfully, and you can click the overview button to go to the page that lists all your applications. Here, when you enter the app console, once you have completed your application, you can click manage of your application to enter the overview page of the application. So basically this page is an overview of the app console, which means on this page you can manage your application. And here in the menu, there is another menu named documentation. Under this documentation tab menu, you will find two subsections. The first one is the user's guide, which describes the basic steps how to use the platform, and another is the API reference. All the APIs is described in detail, like the parameters, some examples will be provided. So on the left panel, you can see that this is a menu of the your application management page. So the first one is the app overview. So it lists all the overview of your application, and the auth management is used to specify the seller that can authorize your application, and the IP whitelist of the server, and also the link to download the SDK packages, and also the data dashboard where you can view the performance of your application and the APIs, and also an API Explorer. It is a tool for you to test calling the APIs, and also for you to debug any errors that you receive when calling the APIs. So next, we will go on with the API overview page. On the API overview page, besides the basic information of your application, and also when you scroll down to the page, you can see there is an API permission groups, a list of the API permission groups. You can see that on Lazada Open Platform, all the APIs has been divided into several groups by the function of the APIs, and the description lists all the APIs that belong to this group, and also the status. Active means that your application is ready to call these APIs, and the inactive status means that your app still does not have access to these APIs, and you can click the apply link to apply the other API permission groups. And this is the SDK download page. On this page, you can see that Lazada Open Platform is now supporting providing SDK packages for 5 programming languages, including Java, C#, PHP, Ruby, and Python. So you can download these SDKs to help you develop your application. And if you have any more questions about this, how to use the SDK, you can click this link to go to the documentation page that describes the usage. And this slide describes the seller authorization. This is a security feature that is implemented in Lazada Open Platform. By defining seller whitelist, you can enable this feature to specify only the sellers can only those single sellers can authorize your application to access your data. Because since you are all sellers, you will need to specify your own seller shortcode on the auth management page, so that only your application, only your account can authorize this application to access your data. Now here you can see that there are 4 steps to complete the seller authorization process. The first step is to concatenate the authorization URL. This URL is unique to your application, because in this URL you will need to configure your callback URL and also the app key of your application in this URL. And then the second step is to open this URL, and you can see that on the authorization page, you will need to authorize your application using the seller account and the password, and then you can call the seller authorization API to use this code to change to get the access token. Later, I will give you a demo of how to go through the seller authorization process. So this is basically the steps. And also in this documentation, all this step is described in detail, and you can have a look of this documentation and follow the instructions to complete the seller authorization process. So this is a screen capture of how to use the API Explorer to get the authorization. Later, I will give you a demo of how to use the API Explorer to test calling the API and also get the authorization, get the access token. So this is basically a demo. Okay, I will go through these steps. The slides which describes the steps to get the access token. So this is the page of the API Explorer. Now, when you open it, you can select the region. If you are a seller for Singapore, you can select Singapore, and in the API path, you can enter the API to get the access token, and then click Get Parameters and click the Get Token button. And on this page, you can see this is the next page that is opened, and you will as sellers you can choose the quick mode here, and because you have already selected Singapore, and here in this field you will need to enter your seller email account and the password and click OK. Then actually the seller email is this one that is you used to log in the seller center, yeah, and click OK. And for ISVs, they can use the bytecode module method, select bytecode, and click the get code link. And so if you are an ISV or third-party integrator, you can use the bytecode option. And this URL you will need to send it to the sellers. You can see that there are two parameters. One is the redirect URL, and another is the client ID. The client ID is the ID of your application. So this is the authorization page. So when sellers open this link is provided to sellers, and the sellers open this link, and this is the page that the seller will see. In the left, this describes why this application is requesting the authorization of the seller. And in this field, the seller will need to enter their seller account and also the password, and click sign in and authorize. So the callback URL here will be receiving the code that can be used to get the access token. So the ISV will copy this code and then using calling the APIs to get the access token. So this is the API, the auth token create API can be used to get this access token. So all these steps are described in the documentation. Now the access token is returned by the application. You can see that here, this is the access token that is replied. And in Lazada Open Platform, all the API calls will need to include this access token as one of the requested parameters. And here you can see that this access token has expiring time. For example, this is in seconds. And also this is the refresh token, which can be used to refresh this access token before it expires. And also the refresh token has an expire time in seconds here. So here is a frequently asked question: do sellers have to authorize each time I want to make a call? The answer is no, because before the access token expires, you can use this access token to call the APIs. But before it expires, you will need to use the refresh token to refresh this access token. You can see that how to use the refresh access token API. The name is auth token refresh, and here enter the refresh token and then click start, and the access token will be refreshed. Now this slide describes how you will need to complete your profile. because to help you get started using the Lazada Open Platform as soon as possible, during the developer account registration, you are not required to provide to complete your profile. But once you have registered your account and log in the platform, you will need to complete your profile, because your profile is needed before you can deploy your application online. And here is the main changes from current Seller Center API to integration to Lazada Open Platform. On the Seller Center API platform, you will need to use your Seller Center account to access the API. But on Lazada Open Platform, you will need to register a developer account and to register your application, and then use the access token to call the API. On the Seller Center API, you only need the access API key, right? But on Lazada Open Platform, you will need the access key app secret and also the access token. On the new platform, all the endpoints are subject to approval, because the seller's data are classified into several levels. And for the sensitive data, you will need to go through the security review and request the request to access the sensitive data. On the old platform, you will need a different seller account or different API key to call the APIs. But on the new platform, you do not need different accounts. Only a single account, developer account, is needed to call the APIs on different ventures. And for the old APIs, we have the old API reference doc. But on the new platform, we have both the user's guide and also the API for calling the APIs. And in the past, we only have provided Java SDK, but now we have supporting 5 programming languages. And in the past, you do not have a data dashboard, but on Lazada Open Platform, we provide a dashboard which can be used to monitor the performance of your APIs. And here are some frequently asked questions. These questions are listed on the user documentation. You can find there is an FAQ section that describes all the frequently asked questions. And this is just for your reference. So this is basically the reference. And here are some links to the documentation. One is the summary of changes. Is listed, and also how to call the APIs using HTTP requests. And if you have any other questions, on the Lazada Open Platform homepage, there is a contact us section. If you have any questions, you can submit a ticket, and we will reply to your questions as soon as possible. Okay, this is the simply guide you go through the introduction of the Lazada Open Platform, and then now I will give you a single demo. Now you can see that the home page of the Lazada Open Platform is open.lazada.com, and when you open it, you can see this is the major home page, and you can click Create Account to create your developer account. And here, this is the entry to the app console. If you have a developer account, you can log in. And also the documentation is public to everyone. You can click Get Started and the API reference to go through the documentation, which can help you provide detailed information about how to use the open platform. And there are some FAQ questions. And the contact page is open to registered developers to submit a ticket to ask any questions. And if you scroll down, you can see there are some brief introduction to the platform. And here is a video that briefly introduces the open platform. So if you have an account, you can click sign in. Now I already have an account. So when I click sign in, I will be directed to the app console. On this console, you will be able to manage your application. And here I already have some applications listed. So if you if you would like to create a new account, you can click Create. And here lists all the application categories that you can apply. So for sellers, you can apply the seller in-house app. So when you click apply, you will need to submit your business justification and click OK. Then the status will be changed to pending. And once it is approved, the status will be active, and you can click create. So you can just follow the steps to complete registering your application. So now here I will demo you how to manage your application. So for now, for example, I already have this app. You can see that your app key and the category is displayed and the status. So for the once it is created, the status is test, and you can click manage. Now you can see that the manage page is displayed. So the app overview, you can see that there are several basic information of your app, including your app key and your app secret. You can click view to view your secret, and also you can click reset to reset it. And then when you have completed your testing and development of your application, you can click apply online. So you will be able to go through another review process. And the sensitive data privilege, here it is new to Lazada Open Platform, which means that the sensitive data of the seller's data is masked. So if you need to access the sensitive data, you will click apply unmask, and you will be redirected to a feature named data dashboard. So you will need to follow the instructions to provide detailed information of your application here, and click submit. And the security review team will be reviewing your request and to see if your application you are valid, you are applicable to access the sensitive data. So, and the API call limit means that your application can call this number of APIs per day. And if this is not enough, you can request contact us to request to increase it. And this is the information of your that you have provided in creating your application, like the name of your app, the callback URL, and also the logo of your application. And here, go down. This is the API permission group. You can see that all the API permission groups are listed here. For these API groups, I already have access, but for the finance one, I do not have access, and I need to apply because the finance data is classified as sensitive data. So this is the app overview, and the auth management page describes the policy of your application. For example, the application policy here for my app is allow binding users to authorize, which means that only the seller shortcode that are specified in the authorize the seller whitelist field can authorize my application to access their data. So for example, you can see that the seller shortcode here is required to be defined in this table, in this field, which means that only these 3 sellers can authorize my application to access their data. So for example, if you are a seller, you have several seller accounts, you will need to specify your seller shortcode here and click submit. And also you can see that there are other information like the duration of access token and the duration of the refresh token. Means that the expiring time of the access token is 7 days. And the number of authorized user limit means that only 10 sellers are allowed to authorize your application. And the IP whitelist, here it is another security measure. For example, here you can specify the IP address of your server that hosts your application, which means that only the API calls can only be initiated from this IP address. So this is optional if you do not configure this field, that means this feature is not enabled, and your application can be deployed on any server that you have. And also the SDK download, the links to download the SDK packages, and the data dashboard. You can see we have provided the 3 dimensions. One is in app level, one is seller all level, and another one is error code statistics. For the app statistics, I will display, for example, this app has made how many calls each day. You can specify the time range here, And the seller statistics means that this is the seller dimension. If you can specify the seller ID, which means that you can view how many APIs are called for this seller. And the error code statistics displays any error messages that has been returned to any of the API calls that are initiated by the application. And the API Explorer here, I will go through with this one. This is the API Explorer is used to test calling the APIs, and the test used to debug any test API calling errors. Now I will demo you how to use the API Explorer to get the access token. So first, if I have a seller account in SG, I will select Singapore, and the auth path, you can type auth token create. This API is used to create access token. Now you can see click get parameters. Now this is the app key of this application, and now you can click get token. Now if you are a seller and you would like to authorize your own seller account, you can select quick mode and then enter your email, seller email. And enter the password and click OK. Now you can see that the access token is automatically filled in the access token field. And now with this access token, you can call any of the APIs. For example, I want to call the brands, get brands. So now this access token is part of the parameters that is needed. And now I click start. Now you can see that this is the URL, request URL, and you can see that access token is part of the URL. And now this is the response of this API. So this is how you get the access token and how to use the access token in any of the HTTP requests. And this is the test account is new to Lazada Open Platform, which is used to for ISVs who does not have any seller account for test. So it is used to that for ISVs or sellers to borrow any the seller accounts that we provided for them to test calling the APIs. So basically, this is how to use the app console. And here is the documentation. You can see that there is a getting started guide. Now, this is the table of content. You can go through this if you have time. You can go through this this documentation. Here we provide quick start guide, some basic tasks, advanced tasks here, and then the developer's guide describes how to call the APIs, including the how to generate HTTP requests, and also we provide some sample code. Now, especially for the seller authorization introduction, you can see there are some detailed information about how to complete the 4 steps to get the access token using your application. And also here is some API tutorials. If you are not familiar with how to call the APIs to manage your product or order, you can go have a look of the API tutorial. And here the API reference links to the API reference documentation, which means that all the APIs are described here. And here is the introduction to the Lazada data mode, which is the security review feature, and also the FAQ questions and the terms and the agreement. And here I will go through the API reference documentation. You can see that all the APIs are also grouped by their functions. For example, the product API, you can see that all the APIs related to product management, like the create product, here is the name of the API, and whether authorization is required, which means that access token is required for calling this API. And also the description of the parameters, the common parameters, the request parameters, and also the response. and some code samples, and the response example, and the error example, and a list of error codes. So this structure is the same for all the APIs. So each API will have the same structure to describe how the usage of the APIs. So it is for your reference. And also the contact us page. If you have any question, you can submit a ticket of your question here. Create a ticket. You can enter a subject of your question, select the country where your account is in, and also the category, which means which category your question belongs to, and your role. If you are an ISV, you can select I'm a developer. If you are a seller, you can select I'm a seller. And also optionally, you can provide your seller shortcode to help us debug your questions and describe your questions here. So click submit, and once you click submit, you will see the status of your question is listed here, the ticket number, the status of the question, and then the group and the details. So this is basically how to use the App Console. And also once you have logged in the system, you are recommended to complete your profile. Here you can click profile. Now here you will be need to provide detailed information of your business information or your personal information here, and also you are required to submit an ID document. So this will help us to verify your identity. So this is the demo of the application. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay. Thank you, Jimmy.
Stop the video now. We can answer the questions.
Okay. Let me switch over to my screen. Then I'll open. I'll unmute everyone so that they can ask any questions that they have. But
yes,
let's go through. Yeah. Let's go through some of the questions.
Yeah. If you have any questions, you can type in the window.
Yeah, so we'll go through the questions that were posted in the chat earlier also. Okay, so I think the first question came from Jaden. I think Jaden is only posted the question out to the organizers only, but I think for the benefit of the rest of the audience who might also be selling digital goods. So his question is that whether or not do digital products require a set status to pack by marketplace before set status to ready to ship? So, Jimmy, do you want to take this question or?
Do you mean this question is about the service marketplace?
No, this question is for sellers who are selling digital goods. So things like digital vouchers and e-tickets. Actually, for this question, right, Jaden, for this question, after we had some enhancements to the digital products fulfillment, you no longer need to call the set status to pack by marketplace. You can just directly call the set status to ready to ship to pack your digital orders. So by digital orders, I mean products such as digital vouchers and e-tickets, e-attraction tickets. So it's only applicable for items which will be fulfilled digitally, either through email or through short messenger service. So all the other items which require a physical parcel and third-party logistic partners to come and pick up the orders, these will still require you to pack the items first. So you need to still go through a set status to pack by marketplace before you call a set status to ready to ship. Yeah, this is for probably Singapore's context.
Yeah, and I go through the next questions. This is the question of visual, and what is the limit of reach limit in App Console? Actually, this is in our setting. We for each of the app categories, we will allow a certain number of apps that can be created under each category. For example, under the seller in-house app, we specify the limit as 3. Which means you can create at most 3 apps under the seller in-house app. So this is the limit. So if you have already reached the limit, you can see that the status of the app category is reach limit. And the next question is from Danny. The first one is API call is limited per endpoint or all endpoint. Can we increase API call limit? The answer is yes. You can request to increase the API call limit. This is the limit is for app level, which means how many API calls that your application can call. It's not for winter. So if you have more requirements, you can contact our support team to increase the app call limit. Now, how many times per day we can refresh the token? Actually, actually the access token can be refreshed anytime before it expires. For example, if the expiring time is 7 days, so before these 7 days, you can always refresh the access token. And are we limited to 300 users only? Actually, the number of sellers who can authorize the application can also be configured based on the business needs of ISVs or sellers. Because for sellers, we usually do not have a very large number. For ISVs, there is a large number.
Sorry. Can if those who are not asking questions, could you please mute your mic so that you allow those who have questions to be heard? Okay, maybe we'll just go through the questions that are posted in the chat.
Yeah, we need phone. Another question is we need phone number to communicate with buyer, especially when third party couldn't find buyer's page. But when I test get order endpoint, the phone number is obfuscated. Is this a question related to the usage of the open platform or the usage of API? If this is about usage of API, maybe you can contact our support team, and also we will also provide some the contact us page.
Hi, Danny.
Yeah.
Danny, you are unmuted now. So if you would like to clarify your questions, you may do so.
The next question from Nitin: please provide more details about improvements on concurrency and the number of calls per hour. Actually, the concurrency of the API performance has been improved, but during peak time, for example, during the online revolution, we may also need to control the limit to make sure that the system can respond to our request, the API calls effectively. The next question is from John. API call is limited and can be extended by contacting us, but this information wasn't anywhere on the site, or I might missed it somewhere. Actually, the API call limit is described in the documentation. So if you have any more requirement, you can submit a requirement through the contact us page or also through the support team. And the next question is, how many sellers are connected in this app? What is seller account limit? Actually, the seller account limit is the limit of sellers who can authorize your application. The next question of Danny. So we are requested to increase the user limit like the API call limit, right? Yes, both these two limits can be increased based on your business justification. The last question from Nitin is there any bug create API which can be useful when the number of products are logged at the start of the seller account? For now, the create product API, the performance is the same with the create a product API, which supports only a single product creation once. So maybe in the future we will do some research and investigate. For now, if you have if you need to create a lot of products, you may use the file. The next, can we increase the expired token duration? The answer is yes, because to save the effort of our sellers or API or ISVs to refresh the token frequently, we can increase the expiring time of the access token to expire like in a month or half a year. So if you have the business needs, you can also request to increase it. The next question is, what is the difference between Seller in-house app and the ERP system? The difference is the Seller in-house app is for API sellers only, and the ERP system is for ISVs. The difference is that the authorization policy is different. For Seller in-house app, only the seller shortcode specified in the seller whitelist can authorize the application. But for ERP systems, any Lazada sellers can authorize the ERP application, because for the ERP systems, there are a large number of sellers. So it is not easy to configure the seller seller whitelist field. So that's basically the difference.
Are there any more questions that anyone would like to raise? Okay, I think Nitin has another question.
Yeah, will both the tokens TTO be the same, or we can have a refresh token for a fairly long time? The answer is yes. But if you specify a refresh token very long time, instead of using the refresh token, you can just let the seller to reauthorize. If you are a seller, it is very easy to authorize. But for ISVs, because there are so many sellers, they will be recommended to use the refresh token. So for the time, different duration time, it is the answer is yes. For example, we can set the expiring time of the access token to expire in 7 days, but the refresh token can expire in 14 days.
Okay. Okay. Danny has another follow-up. I think so he's asking about, you want to get a phone number access of the customer, correct? So as previously mentioned by Jimmy, currently there are some security layers that are put in place on the Lazada open platform. So if you require sensitive data such as customer email, customer phone numbers, you would have to request for it.
And the last one is about error code. You mean the error messages? For now, we have listed the error messages for each API in the API reference documentation, but we did not provide a list of all error messages. Maybe in the future we can consider creating a single documentation topic to describe all the error codes that might be returned by the APIs. Very good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions? We have 10 minutes more to the end of the session.
Okay, if you have any other questions, you can contact us or contact our support team. And also the documentation provides very detailed description of how to use the open platform and how to complete the access token and the technical features. So
okay.
The last question is about the error message of incomplete signature. Means that the signature you have generated does not comply to the requirement. So you may refer to the documentation. There is a topic under the developer's guide. There is a topic about signature algorithm. You will need to check if you have included all the parameters in generating the signature. So you can first follow the instructions, and if you have if this error persists, you can contact us through the contact us page or through our Team Talk.
Yeah. Also, if your error message has one of the parameters of your error message has a SYS, which stands for a system, most probably there is something wrong with the parameters that you have provided in your API call. Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong. It's correct, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like what Vishal has just shared in the chat, the error message will look something similar to this. You have a type that says system. So if you get an error message that the type is a system, usually it has something to do with your parameter settings for API call. You are either missing something or there is a wrong format somewhere. So you need to check back that the parameters that you get are correct and the API signature is not it is correct as well.
Yeah.
Hi.
For the questions for the API calling errors,
What?
we have a chat
Hungry
group.
ka na? May cake dyan. You want? Yes.
Hi, sorry. Does anyone have a question?
And maybe after the meeting, we will be providing the number of the chat group so that we can look into the details. Because by the error message, we still want more information to resolve, look into the errors.
Yep. Okay. Danny just asked if there's a support team in each country. Yes, there is. So for Indonesia, you will need to reach out to your API support team. There's a Indonesian API support team. So if you would like to reach out to them directly, you can, because this is actually a session that is arranged for the Singapore API sellers, but the session was opened up to all the other ventures as well.
Share is.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we will end this session now. But later in the future, if you have other problems that you encounter along the way, you can reach out to us through the contact us button on the Open Lazada platform. You can write down your questions and we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, thank you, Jimmy, for your time.
Chicken.
Okay.
Wala palang kanin. You want to sign
Okay,
kanin? Ay, paano nga ako ng kanin, bilis? Ano mga muna?
Okay, we'll be ending the session. Thank you everyone for coming to this session. Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.
Washroom lang